Rain hit her face in sharp, cold drops as Ella sprinted up the marble stairs, clutching a brown delivery bag that was already soaking through. Her phone screen flickered in her trembling hand. "Penthouse C," she muttered, squinting through the drizzle. The numbers blurred together. Her heart pounded. One last delivery, and she could finally rest. She stopped in front of a sleek black door at the end of a silent hallway. This must be it. She knocked, twice, firm and quick. No answer. She tried again, louder. The door flung open. A tall man stood there in gray sweatpants and an annoyed glare. His hair was messy, his eyes sharp. Behind him, the penthouse glowed in soft amber light. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" he snapped. Ella froze. Food delivery?" She lifted the dripping bag, awkwardly. "I didn't order anything." "Oh." She checked her phone again, eyes widening. "Wait, are you—" "Mr. Cross." His expression hardened. "Who's asking?" Ella. "From City Eats." "Apartment." C?" "This is penthouse B." Her stomach dropped. "Oh no. I'm so sorry, sir. Clearly." He crossed his arms. "Next time, try knocking on the right door." She wanted to melt into the marble floor. "It won't happen again." He sighed, rubbing his temple. "You're standing in the rain. Come in before you catch something." Ella blinked, unsure she'd heard right. "Sir, I really shouldn't." "Just come in. I'll pay for the food anyway." She hesitated but stepped inside. The warmth hit her instantly. Everything gleamed. Glass walls, leather couches, the faint scent of expensive cologne. He took the bag, set it on the counter, and handed her a crisp $100 bill. "Keep the change." "Sir, it's only 20. I said keep it." He turned away, clearly done with the conversation. She tucked the bill into her pocket, murmured a quick thanks, and slipped out before she could embarrass herself further. The elevator doors closed, and she let out a long breath. Great. First wrong door, now a rude billionaire. Perfect night. She had no idea that knock would change everything. The next morning, the restaurant buzzed with noise. Her manager's voice cut through the chaos. "Ella." She jumped. "Yes." "The guy from Penthouse be called. Said you messed up his order and embarrassed him." "What?" "He paid me extra." "Well, he's threatening a complaint. You'll go back there today and apologize." Her throat tightened. "Seriously? It was just a wrong door. Go. Or don't bother coming back tomorrow." By afternoon, she found herself standing outside the same black door, heart hammering. She took a deep breath and knocked. When the door opened, Ethan Cross looked even more intimidating in daylight. Clean-shaven, eyes sharper, suit perfectly tailored. "You again," he said flatly. "Mr. Cross, I just came to apologize. I didn't mean to embarrass me." He tilted his head. "My morning coffee was interrupted by a dozen calls about a mysterious food delivery. You must have some reputation." "I didn't call anyone," she said quickly. "It was an honest mistake." He studied her for a moment, then sighed. "Cool, let's clear this up." Inside, he poured himself coffee. "You seem nervous." "Well, billionaires don't usually invite me into their kitchens." A faint smirk touched his lips. "Touché." She shifted awkwardly. "So about the complaint?" He waved a hand. "Forget it. But since you're here, I could use help sorting some files. My assistant quit yesterday." "Me? You're already here. And you look like someone who could organize chaos." Ella blinked. I deliver food, and I run a company. We both work for survival." He leaned against the counter. 1 week. I'll pay triple your delivery salary." Her heart raced. Triple? That was rent money, maybe even debt relief. Still, it felt crazy. "I don't even know what you do." "You don't need to. Just manage my schedule, keep my calls straight, and make sure I don't lose my mind." She hesitated. His tone was blunt, but not unkind. "Okay, 1 week." He nodded once. "Good. You start tomorrow." The next day, Ella stood in front of his office desk with a notepad, feeling like she'd stumbled into another universe. Everything was spotless, except the mountain of files scattered across the table. "Start by labeling those by date," he said, not looking up from his laptop. "Yes, sir." She tried to sound confident. "Don't call me sir. Makes me feel ancient. What should I call you then?" "Ethan." Her hand paused mid-note. "Okay, Ethan." He glanced up briefly, eyes meeting hers. Something flickered there, curiosity, maybe. You really don't know who I am. Should I? Most people fawned over his name. The fact that she didn't seem to amuse him. Never mind. Hours passed. She filed, sorted, organized. At one point, she tripped over a cable, papers flying. Oh no. She crouched, mortified. Ethan knelt to help, their hands brushing for a second. He'd shot up her arm. Careful, he murmured. This place is a trap. Yeah, I noticed. They both laughed lightly, the tension easing. By evening, Ethan leaned back, watching her pack her bag. You're efficient. I haven't seen my desk that clear in months. Ella smiled. Guess I'm good at cleaning up messes. Maybe you are. She turned to leave, but he said quietly, Thank you for coming back. She paused, surprised by the sincerity in his tone. You're welcome. Outside the penthouse, the city sparkled below her feet. For the first time in a long while, she felt like life might be about to change. And inside, Ethan watched the elevator doors close, wondering why the silence suddenly felt heavier than usual. The week passed faster than Ella expected. Every morning, she arrived at the penthouse early, greeted by the scent of fresh coffee and a view of the city spreading beneath the glass walls. Ethan was always at his desk, already working, already distant. He rarely smiled, but when he did, it was brief, like a flash of sunlight cutting through clouds. One morning, she caught him standing by the window, staring at the skyline with a cup in hand. Long night? She asked, setting her files down. He didn't turn. Long life. She laughed softly. That's deep for 8 a.m. He finally looked at her, something unreadable in his expression. You'll learn that money doesn't buy peace. Just quieter chaos. Ella tilted her head. Then maybe you're just buying the wrong kind of quiet. His lips twitched. You always have something to say, don't you? I just say what comes to mind. Dangerous habit. Maybe, but it keeps me human. He didn't reply, just turned back to the window, sipping his coffee like he was hiding behind it. That day, she caught him staring at her more than once. Each time, he quickly shifted his gaze back to his screen, pretending to focus on work. By Friday, she'd learned 2 things about Ethan Cross. 1, he was brilliant but impossible to read. 2, he didn't like people, yet somehow he tolerated her. As she packed to leave that evening, he said, You've lasted longer than most assistants I've had. Is that a compliment? She teased. It's a miracle. She laughed, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Then I'll see you Monday, Miracle Boss. But when she reached the door, he said quietly, Ella. She turned. Yeah. He hesitated, eyes softening. Dinner. Tomorrow night. Just as a thank you for not quitting. Her breath caught. Dinner. You can say no, he said quickly. I just thought. No, it's fine. I mean, yes. I'd like that. A small smile broke through his usual reserve. Good. 8 o'clock. And we're something you'd wear if you weren't running deliveries. She grinned. So, nothing that smells like curry? He chuckled. Exactly. The next day, the restaurant was quiet, the kind of place where every whisper seemed to echo. Candles flickered between them. Ethan looked different in soft light, relaxed, almost human. So, she began, nervously stirring her drink. Do billionaires actually get nervous on dates? He raised an eyebrow. Who said this is a date? She froze. Oh, I'm joking, he said, smiling. And yes, they do, especially when the person across the table doesn't care about their bank account. She smiled back. You noticed? It's refreshing. They talk for hours. About everything. Her dreams of owning a small bakery someday. His childhood growing up with pressure and expectations. He listened more than he spoke, and every time she made him laugh, it felt like a tiny victory. But as they left the restaurant, flashing lights erupted outside. Cameras. Paparazzi. Voices shouting Ethan's name. Mr. Cross. Who's the girl? Is she your new girlfriend? Ethan grabbed her hand, shielding her as they pushed through the crowd. She felt his grip tighten. When the car doors shut, silence fell like a heavy curtain. He exhaled sharply. I'm sorry. I didn't think they'd follow me tonight. Her heart was still racing. Guess they have nothing better to do. His jaw clenched. They'll make up stories by morning. About us. About you. She frowned. Why me? Because you're new. And people hate what they don't understand. He dropped her off without saying much after that, eyes fixed on the road. But when she stepped out of the car, he said, quietly, "Don't read the news tomorrow." She nodded, even though she knew she would. By the next morning, her phone was full of messages. Headlines everywhere. Ethan Cross spotted with mystery girl. Is she the reason he quit the spotlight? Comments flooded social media. Gold digger. Typical billionaire toy. Another fame chaser. Her stomach twisted. At the restaurant, it had just been dinner. But now the world had made it something dirty. When she arrived at the penthouse, the air was colder than usual. Ethan barely looked at her. "I told you not to read it," he said quietly. "I did," she lied. "Doesn't matter. My board's on fire. Investors are asking questions. Because of a dinner? Because of what they think it means." She crossed her arms. "So what? I'm your assistant. We ate food. That's not a scandal." He stood abruptly, his chair scraping. "You don't get it. My life doesn't work like yours. One rumor can ruin months of negotiations." She blinked, hurt. "So, I'm a rumor now?" He pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing. "Ella, just take a few days off. Until this dies down." Her throat tightened. "You're serious?" "It's for the best." She wanted to argue, but his tone left no room. "Fine," she whispered. "Enjoy your quiet chaos, Mr. Cross." She left without looking back. When the elevator doors closed, Ethan's chest felt hollow. He told himself it was better this way, that emotions only complicated things. But the silence that followed that night felt heavier than before, almost unbearable. He sat in the dark, the city lights flickering beyond the glass, replaying the way she'd looked at him. Hurt, confused, betrayed. For the first time in years, Ethan Cross wondered if maybe the problem wasn't the noise of the world, but the emptiness inside his own. 2 days passed. 3. Then 4. He told himself he didn't care, but every time his phone buzzed, he looked up hoping it was her. By the 5th night, he couldn't stand it. He opened his laptop, clicked on the news, only to find a new headline that made his heart sink. Former Cross Industries employee leaks private files. Inside betrayal threatens CEO's empire. His ex-fiancée, the one who'd walked out and sold secrets once before. She was back in the headlines, smiling like she'd won. Ethan slammed his laptop shut. His company was in trouble. His life, once again, was chaos. And the one person who'd calmed it, he'd pushed her away. Ethan barely slept that night. His phone buzzed nonstop, calls from lawyers, reporters, and furious investors. Every notification felt like another piece of his world collapsing. He'd built Cross Industries with precision and control, but one leak had turned everything into a storm. By morning, headlines screamed betrayal. The ex-fiancée who had once broken his heart now claimed he'd been involved in questionable practices. It was a lie, but it didn't matter. The internet loves scandals. He sat in the dark, staring at his reflection in the glass wall. For years, he had believed silence was safe, but now that silence was destroying him. And for the first time, he wished Ella was there, the one person who'd tell him to stop hiding and fight back. Meanwhile, Ella sat in a small cafe across town, scrolling through the same headlines, her heart twisting. She didn't know the details, but she could tell from the tone of the reports. Ethan was in trouble. Her instinct screamed to stay out of it. He'd made it clear she wasn't wanted anymore. But another part of her, the part that couldn't forget the man who smiled over candlelight, refused to stay silent. She stood abruptly, grabbed her bag, and headed for the door. When Ethan's intercom buzzed that afternoon, he almost ignored it. But the voice that followed made him freeze. "It's me," she said softly. He was silent for a moment, then pressed the button. "Come up." The elevator opened, and there she was, simple jeans, tired eyes, and determination written all over her face. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His shirt was wrinkled, his usually neat hair disheveled. "You shouldn't be here," he muttered. "I saw the news. Everyone saw the news. Then why are you sitting here doing nothing?" He met her gaze sharply. "Because everything I do gets twisted. Every move I make turns into another headline." "Then stop running from them," she said. "Fight back. Tell your truth." He laughed bitterly. "You think it's that easy?" "No," she said quietly. "But you're not alone this time." He stared at her, searching her face. Why are you helping me? After everything I said? Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it, she said, voice trembling. And because I know what it's like to be blamed for things you didn't do. Something in him broke. The walls he'd built, the cold armor he wore, it all cracked. You shouldn't care about me. Maybe I shouldn't, she whispered. But I do. Silence hung between them. For a moment, it felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Finally, he spoke. You think you can fix this? Not alone, she said. But together? Maybe. He nodded slowly. Then let's begin. For the next 48 hours, they worked side by side. Ella combed through old emails, transaction records, and contracts. Ethan reached out to trusted contacts, trying to trace the leak. They barely ate, barely spoke outside of what was necessary. But every so often, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Late on the second night, Ella found something, a file with a timestamp that proved his ex had accessed company data remotely before the leak. Ethan, look at this, she said, her hands shaking as she turned the laptop toward him. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. She did it. She actually did it. Now you have proof. He exhaled slowly, the weight lifting off his chest. You just saved my company. Ella smiled faintly. Guess I'm still good at cleaning up messes. He looked at her for a long moment. You didn't just save my company, Ella. You saved me. Her cheeks flushed. Don't say that. It's true. He stood, stepping closer. I pushed you away because I was afraid. Afraid of needing someone again. Afraid of getting hurt. Ethan. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You knocked on the wrong door that night. But maybe it was exactly where you were meant to be. Her heart pounded. You don't mean that. I do, he said softly. More than I've meant anything in years. The tension between them was electric, the kind that made breathing feel heavy, the kind that demanded to be broken. But before either could speak again, his phone rang. He stepped back, answering it quickly. Yes, what? The board meeting. I'll be there in an hour. He hung up, eyes burning with new determination. They're calling an emergency session. Time to show them the truth. The boardroom was a battlefield. Suits filled the long glass table, whispers rippling through the air. Mr. Cross, one of them said coldly, these accusations have damaged the company's reputation. The shareholders want answers. You'll have them, Ethan said firmly. He connected his laptop to the screen and played the evidence Ella had found. Timestamp logs, emails, and digital access records. The room fell silent. This proves, Ethan said, voice steady, that the leaks came from an external account belonging to someone who no longer works here. Murmurs broke out. He continued, I've spent years building this company from the ground up. I've made mistakes, but I will not be destroyed by lies. When the file ended, silence filled the room again, then slow, reluctant nods. The chairman finally spoke. You've cleared your name, Mr. Cross. We'll issue a statement immediately. Ethan nodded once. Thank you. As he walked out of the boardroom, relief washed over him. But beneath it was something else, gratitude, and the sudden, undeniable realization that the woman waiting downstairs had become far more than an assistant. When he reached the lobby, Ella was standing by the window, watching the city lights flicker. It's over, he said quietly. She turned, smiling. You did it. No, he said, stepping closer. We did it. She looked up at him, eyes shining. So what now? He smiled faintly. Now I will stop hiding. And what about me? She asked, almost whispering. He took her hand, holding it tightly. You stop running. Ella stared at him, her pulse racing. Ethan, are you sure? Everything's just settling down. You don't need another headline. He shook his head with a half smile. The world can say whatever it wants. For once, I want to live for myself. She hesitated. And what if I'm not ready? Then I'll wait, he said quietly. But I won't let you disappear again. For the first time in weeks, she laughed softly, the kind of laugh that came from somewhere real. You sound like a man who finally knows what he wants. I do, he said, taking a small step closer. And it's standing right in front of me. She blinked fast, trying to stop the tears forming in her eyes. You can't just say things like that after everything. I'm not saying it to fix things, he said, voice low. I'm saying it because I mean it. You didn't just help me rebuild my company. You helped me find myself again. Her voice broke. You really believe I was meant to walk in your life by mistake? He smiled softly. No mistake ever felt this right. And before she could respond, he leaned in and kissed her, gentle at first, then deeper, filled with every word they hadn't said. For a moment, the chaos of the world outside disappeared. It was just them, two people who had finally stopped running. When they pulled away, she whispered, "So what happens now?" He grinned. "Now we rewrite everything together." Weeks later, the world had shifted. Ethan's company was stable again. The public had turned its sympathy toward him, and the ex-fiancée's lies had been exposed. But success didn't look the same anymore. The suits, the meetings, the endless rush, none of it mattered the way it once did. He'd move his office into a smaller, sunlit space with a view of the city. And Ella, after much convincing, had taken a full-time role beside him. Their morning started with laughter and coffee, not board meetings. She teased him when he tried to control everything, and he teased her when she left sticky notes with random quotes on his desk. A few weeks later, Ethan sat beside Ella. He turned to her, his eyes full of something warm and steady. "The glow of the sun on your face gives you an ethereal look," Ethan muttered into Ella's ear. Ella giggled, looking deep into Ethan's eyes. "I can say the same for you, my Prince Charming." Ethan smiled, rubbing Ella's shoulders as she snuggled up to him. Ella inhaled Ethan's rich cedarwood scent, smiling as she recalled how the wrong apartment led to the right love. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below if you believe that sometimes the wrong path can lead to the right person. Because love doesn't always come wrapped in perfection. Sometimes it arrives by mistake, just like Ella and Ethan.